All right, guys, Zach Twardowski here. Thanks for joining us. I have my guy Marco with me. Marco, thanks for coming into Austin, spend some time with us. We'll do a little bit of training today and kind of talk about your story in the industry. So,
Yeah.
how old are you right now?
So I'm 27.
You're 27. Okay, got
sir.
it. And how long have you been in the life insurance space for?
Yeah, man. So this is gonna be my second year.
Second year. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So last year was my full first year.
Got it. And have you always been in sales before you were in insurance, or what did you do prior from when you were 18 to now?
Yeah, man. So I would say that wasn't like in the construction space from like 18 to 24.
Okay.
You know, it was like my dad had like a construction company
Okay.
that I worked with, and then I did solar for about a year right before I got into insurance, and then last year I did insurance, and now we're here.
Did you always want to do sales growing up, or because your dad had a construction company?
Yeah.
Were you doing like sales for that, or were you just doing labor?
No, I was just doing labor.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason I wasn't looking to do sales, but I did want to look into getting into like a higher leverage kind of vehicle, because I did feel capped out into like the labor kind of market.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know how to scale that. I was like pretty young, so I was like lost. So then I went out on a journey to kind of find something where I can have uncapped,
Yeah.
basically uncapped growth as far as
Just commissions, what you can make.
commission,
Yeah.
what I can make. Yeah.
Was it weird was it a weird conversation with your dad where you're like, I appreciate the job, but I want to do my own thing, or did he want you to like work for and take over that company at some point, or what was that dynamic
Yeah,
like?
dude. So like, luckily, I have two other brothers. So that transition was more like, you're like an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
you have it here. Like, why go do something else? Like, we've been doing this forever. But kind of like knowing he comes from a place of ignorance, because I knew there was like more out there.
Yeah.
I just we just don't know. But yeah, that transition was hard. He's like, you're an idiot. Like, why are you gonna go do something else? Like, you're making pretty good money here. Like,
Yeah.
why even bother?
And I think parents, I think, want to like take care of you, not like
Yeah.
rip your dreams down. Be like, oh, this
Yeah.
is safe. Like I have a whole
Yeah.
plan for you. In like 30 years, you take this company over from me.
Yeah.
Why would you do like? There's something so safe, and you're like, I want to do something completely different, right?
Yeah.
What So when you first got into solar, what stood out about sales in general? Because I think a lot of times we do these, and everyone's like, I just wanted to do something where I had control of either time or my income, And I think all sales can give you that. I think there's some vehicles that are better than others, but I think sales in general, there's people that make a lot of money doing all different types of sales.
Yeah.
It's like what stood out about that industry that got you into doing solar in the very beginning?
Yeah, dude, great question. So, like, it might sound super shallow and maybe not a lot of debt to it, but it was just literally just the commissions. Like, I just saw like some buddies, like the commissions that they were making, and I was like, okay, there has to be something there.
Yeah.
And that's when I actually moved, because I was in Washington State. I moved out to Tampa, Florida, to go knock that summer, and then I just ended up staying. And then I heard about insurance at the end of 2023, and that's when I started getting licensed. Because I heard like selling over the phone. I was like, dude, like, what the hell? Like, why isn't everybody?
Why am I
doing
door
it?
knocking?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why am I door knocking?
Yeah.
So that's when I made the transition. End of like 2023,
Yeah.
licensed end of December, and then started selling in January.
Got it. So that leap to go from Washington to like Tampa's is about as far away as you get from Washington.
Yeah.
Like if you look at a map, you couldn't
Yeah.
really go anywhere. You go to Miami maybe to get farther away.
Yeah.
But what was that thought process like? Because I mean, when I graduated college, I moved from Boulder, Colorado to South Carolina.
Okay.
My girlfriend at the time, wife now, was doing something out there, and I don't know. I just remember I was like, let's just try it and see what happens. But was that the same mentality for you, or what was that like? Was it hard for you to make that decision to leave?
Well, it was hard at first because I went out by myself, so
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody out there. But it did develop a lot of character, and a lot of that's where I built up a lot of resiliency, because it was like a tough time out, being in the north, a lot of bad days. But I was able to, I'm grateful for that experience now. But yeah, dude, I was like, yeah, let's see, like, what can I lose? Like,
Yeah.
worst thing is I have to go back home, and that's it. But I was already sold. I burned my ships. I was like, dude, I'm not coming back. I'm gonna figure it out, and that's it.
Yeah, I remember when I moved to South Carolina, I didn't know anyone there. It was just me and my girl were there, and I was doing insurance. It was right when I was turned 22 years old.
Okay.
And I remember, like, I think it was really good for me because I got away from the other either negative influences or like bad habits that I had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when I was in Colorado, I was going out like every day. When I was in Colorado, I was drinking all the time. And when I moved there, I didn't really have any friends there. I didn't have any friends there, actually, not really. I didn't have any friends.
Yeah.
And then I got around people that were in business, and it was easy to kind of adopt that. And I wasn't tempted to go out every little bit.
Yeah.
And I think I personally developed a lot. Did you
Yeah.
notice the same sort of thing?
Yeah, dude. I would say like the fastest way to kind of just like change your behavior is change your environment.
Yeah.
For sure. So like, dude, yeah, same thing. I was not doing the best things in Washington.
Yeah.
As soon as I got out to Tampa, you're probably familiar with Tampa. It's
Yeah.
like the culture there's like, you know, a lot of business, young kids, hungry. You know, going to the gym is normal. But yeah, just the environment completely shifted, my behavior, like super, like just like that.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that story about the Vietnam veterans and like their environment changing?
No, I haven't.
So they did some study, and it was like, I think like 30 or 40%. I don't know the exact percentage, but it was less than half, but more than I would have thought of the soldiers that were in Vietnam, like tried heroin while they were there.
Okay.
And they tried it a few times because it was everywhere, and they're like, this is great. And then when they went back to the United States, and then all those guys were back with their families, like at their, white picket fence houses in the suburbs with their wife and kids, going to the HOA meetings and whatnot, like a normal person, there was like 2% of them relapsed. And it was like the best way to think about like your environment determines so much what things you're willing to do or not do. Like those guys are like, oh, there's heroin everywhere, and I'm with all these other guys that are doing it. Like, I'll try it. And they're back home and they're in the suburbs. They're like, it'd be really weird if I was doing heroin now.
Yeah.
So I think like that's a good point. Is like if you want to really get out of bad habits or away from things that drag you down, you have to change your environment.
Yeah.
Because you get away from those cues, and you're not likely to relapse or do the other things you were doing, right?
Yeah, dude. For sure. Sure. Yeah.
So then you were doing solar for a while. What was the biggest hurdle there that like life insurance solved, you think?
Yeah, dude. And that's a great question, because I know a lot of solar guys are making the switch. A few of the biggest bottlenecks is like getting paid out, right? It's kind of like completely out of our control when we get paid out. We were getting paid on install, but then there could be a lot of like in between stuff, right? Like permits and installation, all that type of stuff. So it usually would take a month to 2 months to get paid, and it's just not sustainable for like a new solar rep to be able to do it, right?
And you wouldn't get paid any sort of. Would you get paid anything when you made the sale?
No, only on install.
Okay, got it.
Yep. So on install, they started, a lot of people did have problems with like permits and stuff like that, and that was out of our control. So we weren't getting, that consistent cash flow. So that's kind of like one of the things too, being out on the doors, right? Who wants to be out on the doors? Nobody wants to do that long term. So when I heard about insurance, selling insurance virtually, one, that solved like, the door problem. I could do it from anywhere. Two, we're getting paid directly from the carriers, right?
Yeah.
From the insurance carriers. I was like, all right, no one's gonna, fuck with my money. Basically, like I'm getting paid directly from the carrier, and I'm gonna control like my deposits, my cash flow.
Basically. And as long as you do a good job of underwriting and make sure the client gets approved, like you don't have to wait on the carriers to do anything on the back end, really, besides some underwriting. And even so, that's very rare on those bigger cases, right? And I think like the insurance industry has evolved a lot in the last, I would say since the last 7 years has evolved a lot.
Yeah.
Where before, like the biggest face amount you could get was $250,000 on any carrier simplified issue. Now we have ones that go up to $3 million that will give you an instant decision, right?
Yeah.
So I think like there used to be some of those hurdles where it would go to a real underwriter, they do blood and urine, and it would sort of be the same hurdle that you had with the installers.
Yeah.
Now the carriers are like, oh, we have so much information on people, we can run their health history and feel pretty good about giving them coverage up to $3 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that hurdle's gone. You get paid within either the next day or within a couple weeks, depending on when the client drafts.
Yeah, super fast.
Yeah, that makes sense. So which one of those was the bigger pain point, do you think? Was it the not being in control of your pay, or was it the docking doors?
I would say not getting paid.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was guessing too. Because you're like,
Yeah.
if you make enough money, I'll go knock doors.
Yeah, no,
If
for
you're
sure.
like you're gonna make $3 million a year, if you knock doors all day, I'm like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure. And there's just like a lot of like bad apples in the solar industry. It's very like unregulated, so
Yeah.
they're kind of just like handling it whatever way they want with
Yeah.
the reps and stuff like that. Unfortunately,
Got it. I mean, that's the other thing that's nice about insurance is that one of the barriers is you have to get a license.
yeah,
But one of the good things about that is like when you're recruiting people, you at least know like the state does a background check, the carriers do the background check. So you have some layers where you can't hire people that are complete scumbags.
yeah,
You know, if they've had any real big issues in the past, they're not able to get a license.
yeah,
And that's because it's such a tightly controlled, tightly regulated industry. There's
Yeah.
carriers been around for 175 years.
yeah,
They don't want to risk their reputation off letting someone sneak through who committed financial crimes a couple
Yeah.
years ago.
yeah.
But with solar, for instance, like you would not really know if someone committed a felony 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I actually heard this one kid the other day. It like weathers out all like basically like the what would you call it? The people that just wouldn't make it anyways.
Yeah, it
right?
weeds everyone out.
Yeah, weeds everyone out. He just like couldn't. He's like, dude, like I can't memorize all these things.
Yeah.
All right, go do something else. Then.
You're not gonna be able to dial the phone.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, people say that sometimes. Like the onboarding process is kind of difficult. I'm like, you have to read some emails, and then like there are longer emails, I guess, but then you have to follow the instructions.
yeah,
And if you can't follow instructions, like you're not gonna be good at being in business for yourself, anyways. You should go get a job. You know, like
Yeah.
if you, and if no one's probably gonna hire you if you can't follow instructions. So
Yeah.
maybe I don't know what you're gonna do with your life.
yeah. No, for
You
sure.
know?
Yeah.
So okay, so you started doing insurance. How much were you making when you're selling solar?
I would say 10 to 20,000 a month.
Okay,
Somewhere
net
around
net.
there. Not net. That'd be gross.
Got
Like
it.
what I would take home, and then obviously I'd have to pay my expenses and stuff like that.
What were the
with that.
biggest expenses in solar?
There's actually not a lot of expenses.
Travel?
Just travel.
Got it.
Probably. But then just like my normal expenses and stuff like that.
Got it. And then insurance. So you guys started insurance. Was it good right away? Did it take some time? What was it like? Like how fast did you get back to what you were making selling and doing solar?
Yeah, dude, great question. I would say like 2-3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, but I had to figure it out. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing is like I have kids.
Yeah.
So like when you have kids, like I didn't have another option. Like I had to like make money. I had to like the bills have to get paid.
Yeah.
But I said within like the 2-3 months, I was already kind of back into like the solar stuff, and then it kind of just like took off a little bit from there.
And that, I mean, you did solar for a year, and then you were able to replace that income within 2 or 3 months. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What was it like? Because one of the bigger hurdles people have in insurance, the biggest hurdles people have is either they don't have enough leads, they don't want to spend enough leads, or they don't have support systems to give them enough leads, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're not willing to dial the phone enough, or they're just not good at closing, right?
Yeah.
So for you, that first one though is what gets most people is that either you don't have a support system that offers leads, or you're not willing to buy enough leads.
Yeah.
And for me, when I was new, there was no support system that gave any free leads. It was like, go buy your own leads.
Yeah.
And I realized like once I started spending 2,000 a week in leads, I sold 60 grand a month. I never looked back.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
getting to where you can part with 2 grand a week is when you're new in the business, and anyone who's not selling life insurance now is like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But that's like the silver bullet of our business.
Yeah.
What was it like getting to that point? Like how quick were you able to get where you were spending enough on leads to be able to, not feel like you're beating up every client, where you could sell as much as you want to sell?
Dude, yeah, great question. Dude, I think I could have done it faster with the right support system, like you said, and that's why it's crucial in this industry to align yourself and work with the right people from the get go. But it took me about like 5-6 months, dude, honestly, to like
Got it.
actually be able to start spending a good amount on leads, and that's when I started writing 50, 60 like very consistently.
Yeah.
And then I never looked back from there. But yeah, 5 to 6 months it took me.
Was that because you didn't have the money, or you weren't confident in the system, or like no one was pushing you to spend more on leads? Or what do you think the biggest hurdle you had in investing that amount back into? Because now if you're like, I was selling 30 when I was spending $5 grand a month in leads, and then I went to 60 when I started spending 9.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I would do that all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's always a mental block for people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would say that the infrastructure there wasn't a game plan to get out of that.
Got it.
Right. So luckily I was able to figure it out and make that jump. But I would say the reason why it took so long is, and that's why it's so important to work with the right people, is that when there's no infrastructure or game plan to get out of that as fast as possible, then you're kind of just in a mental block, right? You're just gonna
Yeah.
be kind of stuck, dude. And that's why we see a lot of agents on average doing, 10, 15, and then, they're out of the business within the first year, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no game plan to get out of that quickly.
That's the biggest commonality between top producers. Everyone always says it's like the way they close or being assumptive or this or that. I'm like, it's not. It's lead spend.
Yeah.
It's 100%. And because lead spend dictates everything else. Because if
Yeah.
you drop 10 grand a month on leads, let's say,
Yeah.
like everyone knows what to do. Like getting in, you're in good shape. Like
Yeah.
getting in good shape is easy. You
Yeah.
eat chicken and
Yeah.
rice and you count your calories and you work out like it's not hard.
Yeah.
But people don't want to do it because it doesn't taste good to eat chicken every day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like same thing with the business. Like people know that you need to be assumptive. They know what to say on the phone. They know you need to be, super presumptive. They know you need to make X amount of dials per day.
Yeah.
But that's not easy, right?
No.
But when you drop 10 grand on leads and your back's against the wall, then you just do all that stuff because it forces you into the action. It forces your
Yeah.
your back against the wall and you have to fight. And if like you're in a situation, you have kids. You're like, I have
Yeah.
to make it work.
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And that reminds me of like Sean Mike talks about it and Jake has told me. And actually one of the things that Jake is really good at, and he probably learned from you, is being with a group of guys where they because we're in the business of and I've seen like the guys that have been able to build big businesses, they're really good at installing belief in their guys.
Yeah.
Right. So like being with a group of guys where it's possible, like it's like this is the norm, like we spend on leads. That's when I've seen like an agent really take off, when they really like you can transfer that belief to them and make it normal that this is like the lead spend and this is the game plan. That's where I see really agents be able to kind of like take off. But this industry is filled with like a lot of ego.
Yeah.
A lot of not the best competition and stuff like that. But if you could really align yourself or be with the team where that's the culture and they're really trying to transfer that belief to you, that's when things really take off, because then you yourself have the belief that you can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a separator, because everyone knows what they need to do, right?
Yeah.
It's very simple.
I think to your point about ego, a lot of people in this business, like when you get good at something, you want to feel good about it and you want to talk about it, and that's human nature. But so a lot of people, when they say like, "How are you so good at sales?" They say, "Oh, this is what I say on the phone.
Yeah.
Like this is my 10 steps to a final expense appointment.
Yeah.
This is my daily mindset in the morning." And like
Yeah.
all that stuff is kind of important, but people
Yeah.
always like they don't want to admit that it's just that they're willing to spend more on leads, because that makes it that anyone can do it.
Yeah.
You know, and like I know that anyone can do it, because I've heard people, I walk around the office and there's someone saying the script this way, this way, this way. And the ones that spend more on leads, even if their script sounds crappy and they don't sound good on the phone, but they're buying enough leads, they sell more insurance.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it just sounds so simple. It hurts our ego if we're good. We're like,
Yeah.
is it really that simple? Like it is. But the good part about that is that if it's that simple, then you can scale a really big agency as long as you're transparent with people and humble about what makes you good at it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what like helped me recruit. I wasn't that good at sales, and I would tell people, I'm like, dude, I'm not that good at sales. I just spend $2,000 a week on leads, and I write 15 from that.
Yeah.
And I only close 30%, but I still write 15 grand a week. And you don't have to even be good. And then you get more people who are like, oh, if you just work hard and have some balls to spend some money on leads, then you can be good in this business.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You mentioned like getting around the right people before. So you've worked at a few, you got insurance. You've been with a few different companies within insurance.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think all the companies have things that are good about them.
Yeah.
Like there's people make money everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
And one thing you said that stood out, because I thought it was like maybe comp, bonuses, infrastructure, leads, whatever. You're like, that stuff's all great, but like I wanted to get around the right people.
Yeah.
Can you explain that mindset, like why it was important to be around high-end producers more so than like that was the main thing that determined where you wanted to work, right?
Yeah. So like you said, every agency's gonna have great things to them. But yeah, just at where I was at, and I have nothing bad to say about them, but I kind of reached a place where I was like the top guy for 5-6 months, and there wasn't really an infrastructure to help to get to that next step to really build. Or a strategy, or so I knew, I was like, dude, I need to go somewhere where I can't do this alone. You know, like people think they can do it, they can't. It's you need help, right? Or at least it's gonna, you know, shortcut that learning curve in half, right?
Yeah.
So my thing was like, dude, I'm gonna need help. Like I need to go find the right people, and you know that's when Jake, obviously hit me up, and that was like a perfect timing, dude. But like as soon as I heard like what they were about, dude, I was like, this is it, bro.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, I looked at just now through the first 3 weeks of the month, our top 50 people are all over 30 grand, you know?
Yeah.
And we didn't build that because we're like magical sales system or anything. Like we just kind of always required our leaders to sell at a high level.
Yeah.
And because I think people don't want to be coached. Like, do you play sports growing up?
Yeah.
Did you ever have coaches that never played the sport and yelled at you and you're like, dude, what do you even, like, you don't know what it's like to get hit?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think
do,
people have that. And I don't think people want to be coached by someone who doesn't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
You know? And I've had that before. Like, my first few managers in the business that I was with, like, they never sold anything, and they would be like, do this and that. And I'm like, dude, why you're saying that? If you do that and you sell 15 grand a month, I don't want to do that because I don't want to sell 15 grand a month.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do the opposite of that and see if it works.
Yeah.
You know, so I think getting around the right people, and then we always had the goal of setting the standard that, like, if you want to be a leader, you lead from the front.
Yeah.
Because no one likes people that sit in an ivory tower and don't do any of the hard work, right?
Yeah. Would you say that's like the way that you've been able to build such a great agency is because all of your leaders have had to produce from the front, and that's kind of like been mandatory, kind of?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. We have really talented people who are really humble, right? And like the messaging was always important to me. That wasn't. I learned this from Sean. The message was never like, I'm really good at sales or I'm really good at building an agency. The message is we hire really talented people. We show them what to do. What we do is super simple. Really is. Like, you buy leads, you call people that filled out a lead, you sell them insurance. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
And then you recruit people to do that. It's not that deep of a business.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned from Sean is there's only so much credit to go around. So if you're a leader and you can constantly put it on your guys, then, and they deserve it because they're doing most of the work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the agents should get most of the commission because they're the ones doing most of the work.
Yeah.
You get a small override for helping, but they should get most of the credit because they're doing most of the work too.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I always wanted, I didn't want the spotlight to be on me. I wanted to be on everyone who was doing all the work.
Yeah.
And I think if you make it to where it's about everyone winning together and objectively whoever is working the hardest is the person who gets the most recognition, I think that works really well. I think what people do wrong a lot is it's like, because you're friends with so-and-so, then you get to be in this position and it's positional leader, and people don't respect that.
Yeah.
And I always wanted it to be in our group where it's like, no, that guy earned that because they worked their ass off, not because they were friends with Zach. And I've even been harder on people that were my friends in business, like held everything to the letter of the law because I didn't want it to hurt them to be seen like they're being favoritized.
Yeah.
You know?
Gotcha.
Like, I've known Calvin, who works in our office, he's known me the longest out of anyone by far. And I by far give him the most shit out of anybody.
Yeah.
And ask him to do the most stuff and have not, he's been close to hitting comp raises a few times. I've not given it until he's actually hit it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people to look at him and go, oh, you just got that because you're friends with Zach.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's important, to not play favorites and just to be very like cut and dry and then build good relationships with people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah. What's, so you're starting to recruit people now.
Yeah.
So you were making 20, 30 grand a month in solar a year ago.
Yeah.
You started doing insurance. You're kind of up and down. Where have you been able to get that income to now? And what product line do you sell mostly?
Yeah, man. As far as like what like IULs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like last year I sold all mortgage, right? Was doing like, I was issuing between 50, 56 on average.
And how much you're spending? How much on leads to get to that?
So I was spending around $2,300 a week.
Okay.
So around $9K a month.
Got it.
And
so you're netting 25 to 30, 30 to 40?
Yeah, somewhere around there. 30, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And now, you know, making this switch to IULs, my profitability is starting to go up a little bit just because I don't have to spend as much. I get more leads for the same amount of cost, basically. But I only made the switch like maybe a month ago.
Got it.
But I did 44,000 last. I should paid 44,000 last month on IULs.
Got it. And you've only been doing that for a month. What have you sold? You sold quite a bit this week too already, right?
Yeah.
How much are you selling? How much do you think you can sell a week doing IULs?
Yeah, dude. I think 10 to 15 issue 10 to 15 like pretty easily.
Yeah. And the thing with IULs that's nice is when you start selling those products, even if you don't sell as much, the persistency is 15 to 20% higher.
Yeah.
So you're 20%, 15 to 20% more profitable right off
Yeah.
the rip.
Yep.
You know, so it adds to your bottom line immediately because you don't have as many cancels
Yep.
and you get referrals and that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So for people watching this, if I filled out an IUL lead, what does your initial call look like? What does the presentation look like? You're brand new selling IULs. Like run me through what the sales process looks like.
Yeah. So just like a role play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, hey Zach.
Yep.
Hey Zach, this is Marco. Just had a moment here to get back to you. Just received your request about possibly looking to become your own bank, build generational wealth through an IUL policy. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool. And were you looking for something specific or just wanting to see all your options?
I just saw it online and wanted to look and see what options were out there.
Okay, cool. And were we looking to use this primarily for retirement or to leave a legacy or kind of both?
Kind of both. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
I don't really have any life insurance, so I saw that was part of it.
Nice, man. And just so I can get an understanding,
Yeah.
what do you know like about the IUL? Like when you saw that video online, what was it that kind of, caught your attention?
I saw something about tax-free.
Tax-free retirement?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, and then do you have anything in place as far as like life insurance for yourself right now?
Something through my job, but nothing else.
Okay, cool, awesome. And then what about retirement vehicles? Any retirement vehicles, anything like that?
I have a Roth IRA I put some money into.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Roth IRA. Okay,
Yep.
and so you have life insurance through work, and then like a Roth IRA,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, awesome. And then what do you do for work now, and how much do you expect to earn in 2025?
Sales, I'm probably 200,000.
200,000.
Yep.
Okay, cool, awesome. So that'll like be my intro,
Mhm.
basically, like just all questions.
Yep.
And then I'll kind of get into.
Do you go straight and do the appointment from there typically, or do you try to reset a second appointment? What is the?
Yeah, so there I'll just try to get into like the problem,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of like the why.
Yep.
So
So in that case, I have a little IRA and some life
Mhm.
insurance. So you're like, you
Mhm.
need more retirement, right?
yeah, so I'd be like, what kind of like had you like, has anything happened recently that's like had you looking into like, possibly putting in like an IUL in place?
I know I need some life insurance and I need to start putting away more money for retirement. I'm not where I need to be.
Okay, gotcha. So like, right, like, and just kind of like be, honest with me, Zach. Like
Mhm.
right now, if you were to retire with what you got going on, like how many years would you be able to like live comfortably?
A year, maybe, not a
year?
lot. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And like, what would happen to you at that point?
I'd be working still, I think, if I tried to
Okay,
retire right
gotcha.
now. Yeah.
And how does that kind of like make you feel?
It kind of pissed me off.
Yeah, that piss you
Yeah.
off. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure. It would piss me off too.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like dig deep, and then
Mhm.
I just go into kind of like the why there.
Yeah.
And then I would just go into like, so like before talking to me today, Zach, like, have you like been out there looking for ways to fix this, or like kind of fill me in, like, what have you been doing?
I've looked around a little bit, but I just know I need to put something in place.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, so it's been in the back of your head, but you're just getting around to it.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And why put something in place now, Zach? Like, why not just like keep putting it off?
Because I don't want to retire,
Mhm.
and I want to be able to retire, I guess.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
good
So it's
question.
important to you
Yeah.
for you to do something then.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Awesome. So like kind of like, based off what you've told me, I think, and then I just go into explaining.
Yeah.
But I literally, it's like super short. It's like maybe 10, 12 questions.
And it's not sales at all, your order taking. And I think that's a really good, I've never heard someone ask it that way, but it's a good question. Like, okay, why do you want to do this now?
Yeah.
You make them sell you
Yeah.
on it.
Yep. Yep.
And then it's
yep,
my
yep.
idea. It's not your idea.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I'll go deeper
Yeah.
sometimes. It just kind of depends on the client. Sometimes clients will be like super short with
Yeah.
me like that, and then like I'll just like kind of just like not ask as many. But if the client allows me to go like super deeper, I'll be like, like on the other hand, Zach, like what happens if you don't put anything in place? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And by then they're like they're sold.
They're like, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, like they need to put something in place.
Yeah.
So because like most clients coming into the call, when they saw that ad, they have an immediate kind of like problem. They know that they have a problem, right? But they haven't really like thought out all of the
Mhm.
problems, or like what the consequences of that would actually look like
Yeah.
in 20 years when they do go to retire.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why it's so important to, like, at least for me, like kind of like my philosophy is like to uncover that one problem they know that they had, but uncover like 2, 3 other problems
Mhm.
that maybe they really didn't internalize or think about. And then that really like okay, dude, I have to do something about it right now. And that
You
really,
unpack it all the way.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. And that really builds that urgency. And, they really want to do something at the end of the call.
Yeah.
Like most, like I don't have to tell them anything. They want to do it themselves. Right. Which is kind of like my goal is like, they sell themselves.
And the laid back approach and problem solving approach is there's like it's very non threatening the way you sell.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yep.
very comforting and you're just like, okay, what about this? What about that? And I
Yeah.
think people initially think sales and they think like used car salesmen like talking about all the specs on a car.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, tell me what you have going on.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at this? Why do you need to put this in place today?
Yeah.
And it's very just like you're sitting there like almost like you're at Chipotle going, okay, like white rice or brown rice,
Yeah. Yeah.
black or pinto beans,
Yeah.
okay, steak or chicken, right? And you're just taking their order and customizing it for them. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
based on everything you said, you could spend 500. Here's what it looks like at $500 a month. Does that
Yep.
sound good?
Yep.
You
Yep.
know?
And what's cool is that at least Jake taught us, and I think it's great, is like we sell based on income. So that's why I do ask it at the beginning. Is like, then like what we recommend is 5% of that monthly income. So
Yeah.
let's say you're making 6,000, 5% would be 5 to 10%, anywhere 300 to $600 a month.
Yep.
So like, what would be comfortable for you, Zach? Like
Yeah, 350, 400, something like that.
350. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. And that's like comfortable. Like we can pay that every month.
Set it and forget it. It's
Okay,
comfortable.
cool,
Yeah.
awesome. So, and that's we sell on income. So like it's a super sticky business. They know they got to put something in place, and then every time they thinking about the IUL, it kind of reminds them of that emotion we uncovered during our sales call that day.
So you've done solar sales, other insurance companies, sold different product types, and now you're building a team.
Yeah.
What makes you excited about like the marketing, lead availability, scalability of like virtual sales and specifically IULs? Like why? Because you didn't really want to build before, and now you do.
Yeah.
And I remember when I didn't want to build, it was because I didn't feel good about getting agents leads.
Yeah.
I was scared that if I hired people, they wouldn't have leads.
Yeah.
Or I'd have to give them my leads. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to make money.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So I assume now you're like, I see the market and I feel good about recruiting.
Yeah.
What's different than everything else you've done so far?
Yeah, dude, great question. So I would probably start by saying that the other places that I was at, I saw a lot of problems, which was good, right? So I saw a lot of maybe things I didn't like, and I really wanted to create a place where agents can come in and truly like make money for themselves, right? Because that's where I was at. I was like, dude, I want to make money like that. That's what I was sold. Like, how do I do it? So like now that I'm like really uncovering that, like I want to do that for other agents, and that's like that it's like the most rewarding thing, dude.
Yeah.
It's like when an agent deposits $25K, and that's like the most they've ever deposited in their lives, right? And they're able to put like $30K in their savings, and they're like putting themselves in a great position. But yeah, dude, as far as like leads and systems and support, dude, it's like Jake, I'm working Jake and you, I'm working directly with you guys, and you guys are always available to me. So like whenever I have a problem, whenever I need something, or I'm stuck, or I have a bottleneck, I text Jake, and dude, he gives me a call and gives me clarity, which is like the hardest part of this business, or business in general, right? Clarity, like what are the next steps here in the in the journey that I'm on.
Yeah.
But as far as like leads, bro, like you guys really care about us having like 4 or 5 vendors where we never have to we can never really run out of leads, right? Like you guys we're in the trenches, so you guys know our problems.
Yeah.
So you guys are consistently trying to be on top of leads. And we also now have like the Shark Tank. So like with all new agents that
they have access to free leads.
Have access to free leads, can get off their feet, and then we have 4 or 5 vendors that we're confident in that will have always leads.
Yeah.
So
what made me excited about the IUL market too was like if you're targeting final expense, you're just targeting people who are older, and that's fine. There's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
If you're targeting mortgage protection, the nice part about that is you're getting people with a little bit higher income because they qualify for a mortgage. The downside is it's so dependent on the market.
Yeah.
And when interest rates are high, no one's refinancing, new home purchases are down, right?
Yeah.
And what I liked about IULs is like, I just Googled it because the number always changes, but it says 51% of people have life insurance in 2024.
Okay.
And it said it's down from 2011, it was 63%.
Sheesh.
So even if you just look at the life insurance aspect of an IUL, that's 49% of people that live in America. So a few 100 million people don't have any life insurance.
Yeah.
And like that, and then if that's the pond you're fishing in, there's a lot, like we'll be able to figure out leads to market to 150 million people.
Yeah.
If you're marketing to people that bought a new home,
Mhm.
that's a very small demographic, people that buy a new home
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
we're seeing that, right? We're
Yeah.
seeing the mortgage kind
And
of.
mortgage is great, but it's a small, you can't scale a real business on
Yeah.
such a small
Yeah.
group of people you're marketing to.
Yep. Yep.
You know,
Yep.
so I think from a recruiting standpoint, from a sales standpoint, you feel good about the product, and then from a scalability standpoint, you're like, we can do it anywhere. So
Yeah.
it's I'm super excited. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming in, sharing
Yeah,
some
bro.
of your story and your sales stuff, and
Yeah, man.
looking forward to watch you grow this thing.
Yeah. Thanks, bro.
Yeah.